Your classic lie ahead. It's time to race in MotoGP. .66 kilometres, 2.89 miles in length. And this circuit, the Barcelona, Catalan, poses one of the toughest tests for rider and machine of the season, given the fact that it's very low on grip and very high in tyre wear. 14 turns, 8 right, 6 left, heavy braking zone into that first sector. Turn 3, one of the toughest on the tyres as you head into sector 2. That final sector includes the overtaking hotspot of turn 10. And will there be more late drama at turn 14 after we saw it a few years ago with a certain Valentino Rossi and Jorge Lorenzo? Turn 1, 4, 5 and 10 offer the overtaking opportunities around this Barcelona circuit. This was last summer. Marquez on the inside of Jorge Martin into turn 1. Well, having taken his first pole position in 50 Grand Prix, his first since Argentina in 2023, it was all eyes on the 73 of Alex Marquez to see if he could convert that into a sprint success. It was all going to plan, wasn't it, at the front, as further down the field, Frankie Morbidelli cleaned out world champion Jorge Martin. With a 1.5 second lead over brother Mark, though, at turn 10 with 4 laps to go, Alex crashed out of contention. Mark took the checkered flag first to take his 14th sprint victory in 15 so far in 2025. To boot, it enabled Ducati to wrap up the 2025 Constructor World Championship. And that latest star performance on Sprint Saturdays has moved Marc Marquez to the brink of match point number 1 as he looks to end his 6-year barren run without a Premier Class World title. He comes into our main race day in round 15 of 2025 with a massive 187 point lead in the championship. I'll get it right eventually, over brother Alex, which means if he leaves this Grand Prix with a 185-point lead, he will go to Misano next weekend with a first match point. So Mark cannot lose 3 points or more to Alex in this upcoming 24-lap Grand Prix of Catalonia. If he doesn't, well, he has the chance to lift the World Championship next time out in Misano. A victory this afternoon would put him in the pound seat. He would be win number 99. What a weekend it could be next time out in San Marino for Mark. The planets could be aligned for him to wrap up that 7th MotoGP World Championship on the same day. He could possibly win his 100th Grand Prix. Let's not get ahead of ourselves too much, shall we? Mark has already sort of doused expectations. He believes that brother Alex is a clear favourite for success in this upcoming Grand Prix, which is going to be a time management battle. Who can manage the grip best towards the latter stages of what promises to be another classic contest here in Catalonia. Some great rides throughout yesterday's sprint, including from the two Fabios, Quartararo and the Gian Antonio, both fighting their way out of Q1 yesterday morning onto the sprint podium. Second for Quartararo. What a performance by the factory Yamaha rider, his best ever sprint finish. Pretty dramatic sprint as well, wasn't it, as we saw Alex crash out of that comfortable lead. We've got penalties for 2 of our Ducati stars, Franco Morbidelli and Fermin Aldeguer, later on this afternoon after they both took out the factory Aprilia hopes yesterday. Morbidelli hitting Martin, he's got a long lap penalty. Aldeguer hitting Marco Bezzecchi. The good news for Aprilia fans is both Jorge and Marco are fit for this afternoon's Grand Prix. And Marco Bezzecchi did quickly put the pain and disappointment of his exit in the sprint yesterday behind him. He was the fastest rider in this morning's 10-minute warm-up session. It is all eyes, though, isn't it, really, on the Marquez siblings. They've hogged so many headlines already in 2025, but depending on what happens between the two brothers here in Barcelona this afternoon, the world title could be decided in just 7 days' time. As the Sunshine starts to emerge after what's been a largely cloudy race day so far here on the outskirts of the bustling city of Barcelona, one of the greatest cities in the world, of course, a tourist hotspot. Who's going to be hot to trot, though, in the 24-lap race coming your way shortly. Matt Burton, Lewis Sotheby in the commentary box with you, as always. Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. And as mentioned, Lewis, Frankie and Fermin in hot water once again yesterday.
And there wasn't really much of a case of the defence for either, both really entering guilty pleas after these. This was Morbidelli into Martin a lap before the other factory April rider was taken out. A brief hand of apology there from Frankie Morbidelli and a sarcastic clap from Jorge Martin, who of course has seen his fair share of contact with VR46 Ducatis this season. As Matt mentioned, the best news out of all of that was that both of the riders in each crash emerged from it unscathed, and all four start this Catalan Grand Prix this afternoon, although Morbidelli and Aldeguer, who you'll see no doubt shortly, the collision that he instigated, each of them will serve long lap penalties in this afternoon's 24-lap race that starts at 2 p.m.
Aldeguer should have served a long lap penalty in the Moto2 race here last May. But didn't so because he crashed on his way into it while he was leading the Moto2 battle here 12 months ago. This was his indiscretion. This is the reason why he's back in the long lap penalty loop once again under pressure from Luca Marini behind him, trying to find a way through on the inside of Bezzecchi, down the hill, tricky off-camber braking zone into turn 5, locking the front on the dirty inside line. And unfortunately, the innocent victim on his outside was Marco Bezzecchi. There was quite a lot of concern, wasn't there, initially for Bez, expressed, as you can clearly see, by Aldeguer himself. A rather painful blow to his left leg and his left arm. Medical checks, though, on the arm did give Bez the all clear here last night in the Montmello paddock. And as we mentioned, he didn't really seem to be too disturbed by it this morning when he led the warm-up session.
So an intriguing Grand Prix ahead of us then. The penalties down the order, and a front row featuring the Marquez brothers, who had conflicting fortunes yesterday in the Tissot sprint. One won it, the other should have won it. Marc Marquez taking the gift that was dropped into his hands by Alex Marquez with his crash at turn 10. So many, of course, in the grandstands here in Barcelona coming here to see a Marquez victory, whichever of the two it's from. But there are plenty of number 20s in the grandstands too, of course. We're not too far away from Nice, the other side of the border into France, where Fabio Quartararo, who starts second, hails from. But this was Alex Marquez's crash, where perhaps he was just beginning to think about actually taking that sprint win, overconfidence getting the better of him, and he paid the ultimate price.
Oh, livid. They couldn't quite believe it, could they? Inside the Gresini Racing Garage, Alex didn't get away with it, Mark did. This was post-Alex crash in that 12-lap sprint yesterday. How many times down the years have we seen the maestro of the saves in MotoGP pull off yet another spectacular one? That was at turn 7 when he was well clear of Quartararo in second place. Mark got away with that one, and he was able to add another 12 points to his collection, which has moved him on to 467 points. Just an astonishing campaign. He has now won 24 of 29 races so far this year. 8 successive sprint wins, half the job done to 8 successive double wins, which he knows. The maths are pretty simple. A victory here this afternoon for Mark, and it will be match point numero uno going to Misano next time out.
Yeah, it's a matter of when rather than if, isn't it? Marc Marquez wins the championship, and it was notable that he said before the weekend started that he didn't want to win the championship necessarily at Misano, because to do that he would have to have seen something go pretty spectacularly wrong for his brother. Sadly, though, from Alex's point of view, that's exactly what happened yesterday as he threw away 12 points. Elsewhere, there was plenty of entertainment, and a lot of it was being provided by the KTM trio.
This was not a Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup race, was it, as a lot of people thought it looked like, as it was the beast Bastianini locking horns with Pedro Costa and Brad Binder. Some scrap this, wasn't it, for 4th place in that sprint. It eventually did go the way, not by much, by a whisker, in favour of Pedro Acosta. Bastianini eventually taking the checkered flag in 5th. It was a fight that had us on the edge of our seats pretty much throughout the entirety of that sprint yesterday. I think Acosta probably the most disappointed of that trio. We felt going into the sprint yesterday afternoon that potentially he was going to offer a pretty big threat to the Marquez brothers, particularly Alex, who had the clear superior pace going into the sprint yesterday. Never really materialised, so he never really felt like he had the same grip on the soft rear tyre that he had throughout the course of the weekend. Acosta, nevertheless, a solid 4th place.
Yeah, solid if unspectacular for Pedro Acosta, and yeah, he's not coming here today for a solid result. He wants to give the Marquez brothers a bit of company, but it is Alex that comes into this Grand Prix Sunday to many as the pre-race favourite, even allowing for what happened yesterday. Certainly it was clear he was the fastest, even if ultimately he wasn't first across the finish line. That was this man, Marc Marquez. Can Marc Marquez force Alex into another error today?
15 consecutive victories now for the number 93. He's just signing a few autographs here, a few fans. What a moment it is for those people as they just gathered himself, now heads back into the factory Ducati garage. It has been a dream. It's been a fairy tale first season in red, hasn't it, for Marc? That 14th sprint win yesterday did ensure once again for the 6th season in a row Ducati win the Constructor Championship. That has never really been under any kind of serious threat, as you once again just have to doff your cap to the sheer brilliance of the engineering group led by G. Delinia at Borgo Panigale on the outskirts of Bologna in Italy. Perhaps proving the toughest competition, perhaps the biggest menace to the Marquez brothers this afternoon could be Fabio Quartararo, who embraces all of his Yamaha crew, including test rider Andrea Dovizioso. Somewhere at the back of that Yamaha garage is a nice shiny new V4 engine, which Fabio will test here in Barcelona tomorrow. More pressing matters ahead, though. How do you stop the Marquez brothers from dominating here in Barcelona? Once again, though, Lewis, Quartararo's 2nd place in that sprint just showed what a phenomenally gifted talent he is.
Picking up Yamaha on his back and carrying them around the circuit. It felt like Jorge Martin, well, this was earlier on this morning, enjoying a cool moment with our marshals here in Barcelona. A corner that he has really made his own because of moments like this on a motorcycle as he now replicates it on foot. 30 million of you have watched that on social media.
Go on, Jorge, give us a smile in the top left-hand corner of your screens. Poetry in motion, a work of art, as he takes the shine off the red and white paint on the inside of the curb at turn 5. Yeah, there he goes. He was loving that moment himself, wasn't he? Going through that turn 5. That was on the rider parade this morning. He jumped off the truck and posed with the marshals. A great moment for our volunteer workers, who, of course, this show would not happen without their support all around the world. Yeah, and there's just a timely reminder. The Martinator is still our MotoGP world champion. Probably not for too much longer, unfortunately, after his injury-ravaged first season with Aprilia, but happier memories certainly on our most recent visit to this magnificent Montmello circuit, because of course it was right here in mid-November last year where Jorge celebrated the greatest day of his life when he was crowned our 2024 MotoGP world champ.
No one can ever take that away from him, even if he perhaps going to have to replace the number 1. Well, he certainly is going to have to replace the number 1 with an 89 next season, as the World Championship crown looks set to be passed over to Marc Marquez potentially in the next 7 days. We'll find out over 24 laps today whether his first match point will come next weekend. Of course, Peco Bagnaia came here last in November with a chance to become a 3-times MotoGP world champion. Of course, he fell short despite victory in the final Grand Prix of last season. He hasn't had a sniff of that kind of result this time.
Forza Peco. Yeah, he's not going to take this line down. Words of encouragement, and boy does he need them right now. Peco Bagnaia, he has not had an awful lot to smile about over the last couple of races. Not a great deal to smile about throughout 2025, where, let's be frank, he's been outclassed at times by his teammate Marc Marquez, a rider who, of course, took both Grand Prix victories here in Catalonia last year. Well, Yamaha once again relying on the pure brilliance of Fabio Quartararo as their star performer in yesterday's sprint. He starts on the front row of the grid, looking to pick a fight with Alex and Mark once again this afternoon. Let's get the pre-race thoughts of the boss, Mario Marigali, who's for Jack.
Yeah, it felt like a very timely result yesterday for Fabio. He said afterwards, I needed that as much for myself as well for the team after the difficulties of both Austria and Hungary. How much of a boost was that result yesterday?
Yeah, it has been a really big boost. We started not well Friday morning, but then in the afternoon he started seeing that there were the circumstances to do well, and he was really mad when he catch the 2 yellow flag, because yeah, he said that I feel I had 3 tenths in the pocket. And yesterday morning, anyway, he show what he said, and from that moment, I think he just grew up. The confidence and the speed, the consistency. I couldn't expect to start from the first row. I thought that the second was already a good achievement. Then for the race, has been really another very nice surprise. Because, you know, it was hot. We thought about the drop of the tire, but overall, yeah, yesterday did really work well. And now for today, it's very difficult to have an overview because or foreseen for anything, because there are many factors, as you know, that can address the results of the race. Today is more humid. We are using the medium tire, so you know, more temperature, less grip. Medium tire for sure, less grip. These circumstances are never good for us, but we got some good feedbacks also from this morning warm-up. So I don't want to say anything, but I think that everything can happen.
Obviously, there's the small matter of today's race to come, but tomorrow is going to be a huge day as well. How vital do you think it is that Fabio goes into that massive day, trying the V4 for the first time, with a smile on his face, given the performances yesterday, and knowing that he's riding right at the top level at the moment?
Yeah, for sure, it's going to be an important test. You know that anyway, it's a private test, and we are not used to say anything, but to jump on this bike for the first time after for me a really good weekend, it's very important.
Just finally, I saw yesterday, did the sprint with the new swing arm that Miguel has been using for a while. How much, if any, of a step in performance do you think that's offered Fabio?
Yeah, it's very difficult to say. Let's say that I didn't feel anything worse, and we knew that theoretically on the numbers this swing arm should be better, and since the moment that we start using, he was performing well. I didn't feel any negative points. We decided to go.
Thanks, Mario. Good luck.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to factory Yamaha boss Mario Marigali. Yeah, Jack pointed to it would be good, a real boost, a real tonic for Quartararo to jump on that V4 fresh off the back of what he hopes will be a double podium here in Barcelona. Packed grandstands here as the home crowd, well, they're almost demanding, aren't they? Mark or Alex take the spoils in this upcoming Grand Prix. 7 previous Premier Class appearances here in Barcelona for Alex. He scored points in all 7 of them. Never had been on the podium though here in the top class. He was fastest in the test here last November when he first jumped on the Ducati GP24. This is interesting news, isn't it? This could change, of course, it so often does, but Pedro Acosta, he did a lot of work on Friday, 16, 17, 18 lap run on a soft rear tyre, and felt like he could make it work over the full race distance of 24 laps here this afternoon. Well, our information, as you can see on the screens, is Acosta will certainly be coming to the grid. He's starting his sighting lap with the medium front soft rear tyre.
Yeah, we're expecting the majority pick to be the medium rear, just because it is such a punishing circuit on tyres, and some already recognised yesterday in the sprint over half the distance that they were starting to run out of grip with the soft rear towards the end of the race. There is your Michelin tyre allocation. Of course, asymmetric rear tyre compounds with the harder compound on the right, because there are so many punishing long right-handers here through turn 3, turn 9, turn 13 and turn 14, where the tyres take such a hammering. But Pedro Acosta, as you mentioned, not only putting in so many laps on that soft rear on Friday, where he looked particularly good, but given, of course, what he's come here to try and achieve this weekend, you can totally understand him taking the aggressive option.
Such a favourite stopover, isn't it, this circuit, the Barcelona. Catalunya first on the Grand Prix calendar back in 1992, known then as the Grand Prix of Europe until 1995. First Catalan Grand Prix took place here in 1996. And as mentioned, it's been the scene of some of the most epic battles, the biggest last lap thrillers we've ever had in Grand Prix racing. The 93 fans, well, there's been doing some brisk business as the 93 merchandise stalls are here this weekend. A lot of the grandstands, including Mark's own dedicated We Are 93 posse on the outside of turn 12, showing their allegiance in bright red. It's right here on the outside of 12 where Mark's got his own dedicated grandstand. And they come here not in hope, in expectation almost, that he's going to take another gigantic leap towards glory in this year's championship.
Yeah, the bare numbers just don't really tell the story, Marc Marquez, but we'll give you some of them anyway. 10 Sunday victories were now added to 14 sprint wins out of a possible 15, so he could today take his 25th win of 2025, and of course he's still going to have another 14 opportunities in the 7 Grand Prix that remain after this one to add to that. And of course a 100th MotoGP victory potentially coming next weekend if he can notch number 99 today.
Alex then with a bit of a score to settle with this Catalunya circuit after the crushing disappointment of fluffing his lines while leading that sprint yesterday. It was a gold medal, almost gift wrap, wasn't it? 1.5 seconds clear of Mark, who had just decided to give up the ghost in his pursuit of extending his brilliant sprint winning sequence. But Alex, when it looked like he was going to inflict just a second Saturday afternoon defeat on Mark in 2025, it all went wrong into turn 10. Mark himself said, though, post-sprint yesterday, Alex will be out for revenge. And we know how good Alex has been throughout this weekend so far. I suppose that the one thing to sort of keep a very close eye, we know that tyre wear is going to be so important in the second half of this Grand Prix, and that is Mark's trump card. That is always the ace he has up his sleeve. So you do wonder, you feel if Alex is going to win this Grand Prix, he's going to have a fairly healthy lead as we tip into sort of lap 15 onwards. We've heard riders say those last 10 laps are going to be so important. You can't give this guy any kind of leg up because he will jump all over you.
It's funny, isn't it? Yesterday, Marc Marquez had essentially given up and settled for second place at the point that Alex crashed. 1.5 seconds was the advantage meters before the 73 Ducati went down the road. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see or work out what Marc Marquez's thought process is, depending on where he is in the race. If he's chasing Alex Marquez, is he going to be prepared to push the boat out to try and take away that Catalan Grand Prix victory? A Grand Prix that both of them, of course, dearly want to win. It is a home Grand Prix for both. Marc Marquez, with such a healthy points advantage, does have the luxury of being able to take a few risks, but he doesn't very often make the wrong decision in these Grand Prix, does he? When he has to settle for second, he does, but he doesn't have to do it very often.
It's all set up for a real intriguing battle between not just, of course, Mark and Alex. It's more than a two-horse race, this one. When you think of the two Fabios who were on the sprint podium yesterday, we know how good Pedro Acosta has been so far here this weekend, but they've got sort of strengths at different points of the Grand Prix, haven't they? Both Mark and Alex, as we look then at your grid.
Yeah, very quickly, it's Alex Marquez, Fabio Quartararo and Marc Marquez on the front row, medium rear tyres for each of them. Morbidelli, Acosta, Di Giannantonio on row 2 from Zarco, Agura and Bastianini. Acosta, as you can see there, on the soft rear tyre. Row 4, we find Luca Marini, Brad Binder and Marco Bezzecchi. Of course, Bezzecchi taken down in the sprint yesterday by Fermin Aldeguer, who you can see one place behind him. He will have to serve a long lap penalty, as will Morbidelli. Row 4 completed. We see Brad Binder there with Bezzecchi, Aldeguer, Miller, Fernandez, Oliveira, Martin, Espargaro is your 6th row from Alex Rins, Joan Mir, who drops 3 places, and Peco Bagnaia 21st. Maverick Vinales, Lorenzo Savadori and Somkhat Chencha complete your grid, and it is only Pedro Acosta on the soft rear tyre.
He's the big outlier, isn't he, Acosta? No question. That could be some roll of the dice as far as the Spaniard is concerned. Now, big news off track here this weekend. We have seen Gunther Steiner lead the acquisition of the Tech 3 MotoGP team, and he's down on the grid with Jack.
Well, Gunther, incredibly exciting news broke on Friday that you'll be taking ownership of the Tech 3 team. Just how excited are you to become a part of MotoGP in 2026?
No, I'm really excited about it. In my career, I've done a lot in motorsport, and now being a part owner of a team in MotoGP, it's one of the things again, I never thought it will happen to in my life, but it happened because I love MotoGP. I'd never had the time to get involved in it because I always had a job to do, and when the time was right, I started to work on it and got it done. I'm really excited, and I'm really excited now, and especially for next year.
Well, welcome to the paddock. Enjoy today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, exciting times ahead for MotoGP. Gunther Steiner, the new CEO of Tech 3 Racing in 2026. He loves MotoGP, and I'm sure MotoGP is going to love Gunther Steiner. Congratulations to all concerned in that takeover of Hervé Poncheral's Tech 3 squad. Don't worry, Hervé Poncharal fans, we know there's plenty of you watching at home. He is going to remain in a consultancy role alongside Gunther Steiner, a new Tech 3 management throughout 2026. So we certainly haven't seen the back of the Frenchman. Speaking of Frenchman, one who had a very strong sprint yesterday, 7th over the line, was Joan Zarco. I'm delighted to say he joins Jack now on the grid.
Yeah, it was a brilliant job on yesterday in total from Joan. Onto the 3rd row of the grid, a really solid race in the sprints. This is going to be, I imagine, quite a long one. Looking after that rear tyre, do you feel prepared for it?
I hope so. We are still working on the bike to get this better feeling and have the control into the corners, and then then help the rider to control the rear tyre. I hope I will have the speed, and from the start we need to fight. But then, if I have this possibility to control my pace, that will be a key point to get a good result.
Good luck.
Merci.
Yeah, merci, Joan Zarco. 7th in the sprint yesterday, but no top 10 in 7 Grand Prix since that brilliant Silverstone 2nd place. Andrea Dovizioso, more than a very interested observer here in Barcelona, keeping a keen eye on Fabio Quartararo's prospects of back-to-back podiums here this weekend, and of course he'll be a very keen observer at the behind closed doors top secret Yamaha HRC test, which takes place here tomorrow, where Fabio Quartararo will for the first time ride the new V4 powered YZR M1.
Here's Somkhat Chencha, who starts at the back of our field in 24th place. Very good to see Somkhat Chencha back in action, of course. A pretty heavy knee injury has taken him out in recent times. But we can head from the back row to the very front row. Fabio Quartararo speaking to Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Sat here in the back of Fabio's box. Pretty chill location, this, I have to say. The music going as well. Brilliant ride yesterday. The big question is, can you do it again today?
That's what we will try, of course. We know that in the beginning of the race with low grip we're going to struggle, but I will try to do my best. My main goal today is to enjoy, and doesn't matter the position, but I want to fight, and like I said, pushing to the maximum is always fun.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks as always to Fabio Quartararo for his thoughts pre-race to Jack. Yeah, we were expecting this to be a really brutally tough weekend for the Yamahas, given how we know that there's notoriously low grip around this Barcelona circuit. Yamaha's had seemingly endless issues with finding grip on the current inline four-cylinder YZR M1. So it was something of a welcome and pleasant surprise for the Iwata factory yesterday to see Quartararo on the front row and fighting so close to the front in that sprint yesterday.
Yeah, it's finding that grip on a full tank at the start of the race. Of course, double the distance. Of course, extra fuel has to be carried to accommodate that, and the Pirelli rubber from Moto3 and Moto2 that's been laid on the track since warm-up this morning, which does change the grip characteristics of this racetrack, of which grip is already very low. Quartararo very wary of that.
Pedro Acosta at the moment then the only rider in this field, 24 strong, that's opting for the Michelin soft rear tyre. What's the thought process behind that one? We can find out from the heart of the camp, because his crew chief Paul Trevathan joins Jack.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rear of this RC16. There's no tyre in there yet. What are you going for, Paul?
No, we're going to go the soft, mate. Yeah, we've done enough laps on it. We understand it. Going with the medium is a little bit of for us, more of a risk. So both tyres we have to manage, you know, and it's what the feeling the rider can have to be able to manage it the correct way. So for Pedro, he believes it's the soft. All our data proves him correct, so he has to now do his magic on the bike.
What's the key challenge going to be with the soft?
I mean, it's to make sure we don't go too sideways all the time, and to be gentle on the throttle, you know. But we have a good advantage on the entry, so if we can use the entry part of the tyre better than the exit and not push too hard on the exit, then that's what we're looking for.
Good luck.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks.
Yeah, always a pleasure to hear the thoughts of Paul Trevathan, Pedro Acosta's crew chief. As he mentioned, that soft rear tyre will certainly give you a little bit of extra stopping performance. It's all about managing it on the exit. He's going to have to be really sort of finessing that right hand, isn't he, throughout this Grand Prix. Acosta. Sete Gibernau used to give Valentino Rossi and co a few headaches in his prime, didn't he? Sete, twice a MotoGP runner-up back in the 2003-2004 era. Of course, we had the pleasure of listening to Sete give his thoughts pre-sprint to Jack yesterday, as we continue our countdown then towards this clash in Catalonia. He's going to be a little bit sore, a little bit battered and bruised, isn't he, Marco Bezzecchi, after he got the Fermanagh hit in the sprint yesterday. Mixed fortunes for VR46 Racing in that sprint. Gian Antonio on the podium, Morbidelli with a long lap to serve in this Grand Prix after his hit on Jorge Martin. What do we think his riders are going to do this afternoon? Pablo Nieto joins Jack.
Yeah, Pablo, a lot less panicked than 2 weeks ago in Hungary when we were chatting to you on the grid about the problems with Fabio's bike. Thankfully, all okay today. It was a great ride yesterday. The swap to the medium tyre today, is that going to benefit him? Is that going to hinder him a little bit? How do you see it?
Yeah, it's going to be a hard race, no? Yesterday we make a fantastic race, but now it's Sunday, no? We know that it's much more difficult. But anyway, the most important thing is first lap, first corner, and then we will see what happens.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jack. Thanks to Pablo Nieto. Yes, let's just all hope that the field can get safely through what has always been a treacherous run down to the first corner here in Barcelona. Cast your minds back down to 2006, a real chaotic turn 1 2 years ago most recently. Of course, when Enea Bastianini went charging into a whole bunch of riders, Zarco Bezzecchi, Alex Marquez on that occasion was caught up in that early drama. And at turn 2 there was that sickening incident involving Peco Bagnaia and Brad Binder. So fingers crossed, everything crossed, that the riders can all make it safely through turn 1, just as they did in the sprint yesterday. What's going through the mind right now of Alex then? Surely this is going to be his best ever chance to win in MotoGP in front of his home crowd. Should have won the sprint yesterday. It is all, of course, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but he knows he should have won the sprint yesterday from pole position. A hero's reception, a standing ovation for Marc Marquez, who is looking to close in on that 7th MotoGP World Championship.
Of course, Marc Marquez very used to starting from pole position. He's done that 74 times before. Alex Marquez less so, just the 2nd time in his MotoGP career that he has started from pole position. You can hear the crowd being whipped up into a frenzy. That's the grandstand on the outside of turn 12. We are 93. Will they be celebrating a world championship in 7 days' time?
If not 7 days, the wait won't be too much longer, will it? Probably, most likely, almost certainly, if it's not next weekend, it will be in Motegi. Carlos Puyol, FC Barcelona legend, Spanish national team legend as well. We know Carlos is a big MotoGP fan. Great to see him a part of the special guests that have turned out here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Of course, we're about 30 kilometres away from the heart of buzzing Barcelona, home to FC Barcelona, the Camp Nou Stadium. Of course, one of the biggest sporting arenas on the planet. Right now, though, it's all about 24 laps of MotoGP action about to unfold here in the Monster Energy Grand Prix of Catalonia. Just the one Grand Prix victory in the Premier class for Alex Marquez, getting himself cool, calm, collected, focused, concentrated in the zone, as he's the favourite to take the spoils in front of his home crowd. We're going to take a short pause, though, now here in the commentary box for the Spanish and Catalan anthems. So that is our pre-race ceremony completed here in front of the packed main grandstand of the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Got Alex exact revenge on the track, which saw him lose out on a sprint victory yesterday. Well, we'll find out from pole position. Let's get the thoughts of Gresini boss Michele Massini.
Yeah, that's the huge question for today's race. How much will yesterday be in Alex's mind, do you think?
Honestly, I tell to Alex that could be angry for 5 minutes, then start to make the reset to be focused for today. I think that it's come back all in our hands for today. Also, the warm-up was very good and confident. So I think that today, like yesterday, we have everything to make a great result.
Yeah, he said yesterday the warm-up was going to be really important to get that confidence back again. So for him to be as fast as he was there, that must be a great sign.
Yeah, for me, we was really fast, the warm-up, so, and then just try to see some things, some small details, especially on the front tire drop, that today I think will be crucial for the result, and I think that, so we are ready.
Thanks, Michele, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Michele Massini. Yeah, front tyre drop, rear tyre drop, so many issues that these riders are going to have to contend with. Certainly over those last 10 laps of the Grand Prix. Davide Tardozzi then just a few last-minute words of encouragement. Not that he really needs too many, does he, Marc Marquez, after this sparkling run of success. Well, let's go and get the thoughts of a former MotoGP star himself from back in the day. Always a pleasure to hear from John Hopkins. I wonder who he's backing in this Grand Prix. Well, Jack's about to find out.
Yeah, of course, it's the Monster Energy Catalan Grand Prix. John, a long-time supporter of Monster. Quick one, how do you see this playing out?
You know what? I think Alex might be able to do the trick today. I felt a little bad for him yesterday, but you know, big brother's going to be a hard one to beat, but I'd like to see Alex do it. You know, he's been riding well all weekend, and it's also good to see Fabio up there. He's riding super well, and yeah, that's the way I see it playing out.
Great to see you here. Enjoy the race, John.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, always great to hear from John Hopkins, former Suzuki, former Kawasaki factory rider in MotoGP, starred in one of the closest ever battles for the British Superbike title back in the day. Always good to have John back in the paddock. He's back in Alex then. Is the Hopkins prediction going to be spot on? Well, we're not too long in waiting to find out, are we? Just under 5 minutes until we're lights out for chapter 15 of 22 in 2025. Can Alex find a victory which will keep the Prosecco on ice as far as Mark is concerned next time out in Misano? Misano home Grand Prix weekend next time out for Frankie Morbidelli, which he's going to be looking for a strong result off the back of, despite the long lap penalty coming his way.
We've seen the long lap penalty play a role already in the two races we've seen today. Not the easiest long lap penalty to carry out. Frankie Morbidelli, you might have seen him warm up this morning, took an attempt at trying to serve the long lap penalty as a practice and overshot it straight into the gravel trap. So hopefully he's got those gremlins out of the way.
Yeah, let's hope it is. Practice makes perfect as far as Frankie's concerned. Alex Marquez then on pole position in front of his home crowd. Fabio Quartararo splitting Alex and Mark on that front row of the grid. This man's brilliant so far in 2025, has already carried Ducati to the Constructor Championship. The Triple Crown is going to be signed, sealed and delivered once again very, very soon. Ducati Lenovo will be crowned team champions in the not too distant future. How long though will Mark have to wait before he is the 2025 MotoGP World Champion? 5 minutes to race start. The BMW safety car peels away at the front. It's going to be all eyes at this very point of the circuit, particularly on the first lap. It's one of the longest runs from the grid down to the first corner. We know that the MotoGP bikes, blessed with 300 brake horsepower, they're already in excess of 250 kilometers an hour when the riders grab a handful of brake into that turn one. Your front row of the grid then. 93, Marc Marquez, already a 24-time winner in 2025. Fabio Quartararo, stunning second in yesterday's sprint, second on the grid, but on pole position for just the second time in his Grand Prix career. After crashing out the lead in the sprint yesterday, can Alex Marquez bounce back here in Barcelona?